Kate Jonuska and Mira Landry. Welcome to the Rocky Mountain Writer Podcast.
Oh, thanks for having us, Mark.
Hi, Mark. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, co-chairs of the Colorado Gold Writers Conference coming up this October with lots of new wrinkles and changes and things we want to get into. But first of all, thanks to each of you for stepping up and co-chairing this. It's a complex couple of days. So we appreciate what you're doing for the organization.
Honestly, Mark, the conference is one of my favorite things about RMFW. It's what pulled me in, and I also love teaching and learning, so this is right up my alley. I kind of feel honored to be able to take part.
That's great.
I absolutely agree with that sentiment. My first writers conference that I ever went to was what really solidified my idea that I could be a writer one day. And my events background kind of led me to think that maybe one day I'd organize a writers conference. So when the opportunity came, I was like, I think this is my chance.
Oh, terrific.
You were made for this, Mira. You were.
Well, before we get into exactly how it's going to run and a lot of the details around the programming, things like that, when was the decision made to not hold it in September when it's usually held, but to delay it into mid to late October? When was that made?
That happened probably in February. So at the end of January, when we had a meeting and there was really nothing on the run to make the conference go ahead, we knew we were starting late. For people who don't run conferences, you need to know that it usually takes a year longer to get everything set. So looking at 7-ish months, wasn't going to be the plan. So we thought we'd buy another month, but also, if you think back to what February looked like, we were still very much in the thicket of COVID and thought that even just that extra little bit of time pushing us into the fourth quarter of the year would buy us that ability to have an in-person conference and be able to have people attend, and that security was helpful.
Seems like a good decision now. Definitely.
Yeah, I think some people might be missing their September date, but maybe
Right.
Next year we'll go back to that if it seems
Right.
like it was more popular.
But
Right.
definitely worth it to see each other in person. I think we're all looking forward to that.
Absolutely. And I may be hard to quantify, but how much was kind of already in place in February? Was there lots of programming you could just pick up and move from September, October? Did you have to start over from scratch? What did you walk in with at that point?
It was a lot from scratch. The co-chair who had taken over in 2020, so he was new from last year, hadn't really initiated anything, still being that 2020 had to be, canceled and
Right.
turned into a virtual one. So he was sort of waiting for a go ahead to be like, should we have a conference this year? So at that point, we pretty much started from scratch. Luckily, we did find that we had a hotel contract in place, and they were so wonderful and flexible. The Renaissance Central Park was just absolutely great about helping us renegotiate that contract so that it's suited doing this year. And we're really excited to be working with them again. It's a great hotel for this conference, and they love having us. I guess we've been doing the conference there for 10 years. So yeah, that was about it. Just a hotel.
Yeah. So let's get into the juicy parts, the good parts. Somebody walk us through how long is this going to run? Give us some of the basics for the Colorado Gold 2021.
Well, again, we did push into October of this year. It's going to be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, October 15th through 17th at the Renaissance Central Park in Denver. As Mira said, they really do value us, and they worked with us hard to make this conference work. And yeah, really excited about that. We're going to be in person, which means that all of the presentations and workshops and lectures will be given at the hotel. However, we do have a virtual component in that on Saturday, 2 of our rooms from the conference will be broadcast live to virtual participants at home. So they're going to get a lot of content without having to leave their homes. And yet what I think is very exciting is this is a more interactive virtual experience than a lot of the conferences we've been having last year, where both the presenter and the audience were on Zoom. In this case, I do think it's really going to feel more like the virtual people are there. So super excited to be able to offer both of those things.
You already know.
Mira, what am I missing in terms of details? What else?
Do you already know which particular programs are going to be the ones that are online?
We were actually just putting this together. So
Okay.
we've opened our in-person for guests who want to attend in person. That registration is already open, and we're opening the virtual registration June 15th. So people who just want to attend via the Zoom broadcast will have that chance. And we were just kind of working through which workshops we were going to be in those broadcast rooms. So I think we have it all narrowed. Are we confident with?
I think I've got some pretty super choices, actually. There's
Yeah.
a few there that I would tune in from out of state to see. We got some good presenters. And obviously, to another important point is he has some amazing keynotes. This year, we were really lucky to land some great guests. Again, it's a little complicated because people weren't ready to commit or travel until a little bit than we're used to. But we have Rachel Housel Hall, really exciting thriller writer. We have Gail Carriger, who is a steampunk writer. She's both indie and traditionally published. And then we also have keynoter John Dudakis. He is a foreign ed correspondent and also novelist who is going to be giving some really interesting workshops about writing. So it's a pretty stellar crew, I have to say.
Fantastic. Just a quick note back on the point about the schedule. So it's a tiny bit shorter than years past. Is that right?
Just a tiny bit.
Okay.
We had thought about doing, when we started working on this conference in February, we were definitely playing with a lot of new ideas simply because we weren't sure what we'd be able to do. And the idea of a shorter, like maybe 1.5 day conference came up. But for logistical reasons with the hotel and asking guests to travel, it actually didn't make sense. So we are doing mostly a full conference. The Sunday morning is looking a little different. And instead of doing, so we'll have just a few less workshops on the Sunday morning, and then it'll go into a brunch, which will also be a panel. But other than that, the conference is very similar. There's no Thursday night intensives, just the Friday masterclasses. And again, a lot of that just has to do with the time it takes to plan things and not having it. But we're hoping to bring all those back next year.
Right. So you are doing the Friday morning specials.
Yeah. We have 4 master classes. So all 3 of our keynotes are hosting a master class, which is really great. I was so excited, and like they're, yes, all very wonderful what they do. Rachel Housel Hall is hosting sort of ideas to novel workshop. So how you get started and build it through. So that'll be a great 3 hours for people who are sort of just getting their feet wet or who feel like they need a bit more structure. And then Gail Carriger is hosting so I'm sure we've all heard of the hero's journey. So she's hosting one on the heroine's journey, which is also very nice and a good twist. And then John Dudakis is doing something a bit more for intermediate writers who want to get deeper into the craft by teaching some of what he used as interview skills to talk about deep listening and how to get the most of your characters that way and build characters through that, and how to interview so you get those details, and then also about key scenes in a novel and how to really make those powerful. So those are some of them. And then we have one more.
A publishing based queries and pitching to agents, which, when you're in that phase of your career, a 3-hour masterclass about that is definitely helpful.
Excellent. And that's going to run all Friday morning, but the actual conference then starts at noon, as per tradition, I guess, or the way it's run in the past.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, so the actual workshops will start at 1, but at around 12:30, we're going to host a quick, get everyone together and a bit of a welcome ceremony. So I think that's a new aspect this year. And that's actually, we'll start with a keynote speech. So.
Oh, interesting. Very good.
That was a nice touch this year, and I think kind of leads into this year is a little bit more themed than usual.
Okay.
We wanted to have that welcome speech to kind of introduce the theme that we chose this year, which was welcome home. A theme is not something we've often done with RMSW in the past, but the conference committee really liked this idea. And because it's new, John Dudakis actually is going to speak and kind of introduce the topic, which to us on the committee, there's the literal welcome home, as in we didn't get to see each other last year. And honestly, home is where you have your community. So it really is going to be so nice to see everybody, and just it will feel like a homecoming for sure. But also on a higher level, the welcome home just goes to the the acceptance and inclusivity of the RMFW community and just the writing community in general, especially the way publishing has changed. All the divisions between us are just so arbitrary anymore. It just feels like we're all on the same team. And we really wanted to bring that home as well. So yeah, a couple of new things with the theme and the keynote, but we're doing that very intentionally because we want to craft a very inclusive environment where everybody really does feel at home.
Excellent. Really good. I love the idea of a kickoff kind of greeting moment. That's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was Mira's good
Yeah.
idea there.
Yeah.
You are a good conference planner.
What do you want to just tick off the other keynotes and when they'll be?
Yes, so we'll have Gail Carriger will be on Friday evening, and then Rachel Helsel Hall will be on Saturday evening.
And I can put in a quick plug for Rachel because I have served with her on national boards. And oh my gosh, not only am I a big fan of her writing, but she is just a really thoughtful, energetic boy. She just makes it, she's so committed to writing. She's been very, very successful. And for us to get her here is fantastic. She is a blast and as smart and as sharp as they come.
It's quite a feather in our cap. Yeah. We're impressed we got her.
I wish I could give endorsements on the others, and I just happen to know her. So, but I'm sure the others are equally strong. That's great. So those
also plug she has a new book coming out called These Toxic Things in September. So
yeah.
No, to speak to Gail Carriger, I'm a big fan of her work, honestly, too, and her career. She's not only a great presenter, but she started off traditionally and has experimented with indie publishing in really interesting, fascinating ways. And her latest nonfiction book is The Heroine's Journey. So she's going to give a whole workshop about this new book of hers. And yeah, that's really great, too.
Excellent. What about the workshops themselves then? How is that being rolled out? Tell us about the process. Were you two in charge of selecting what workshops are going to be run?
Kate was on the work. So we had a group committee of, I want to say 7 people who went through all of the workshops that were submitted via the proposal and the application form. And they narrowed it down through multiple meetings.
Yeah. How many applications did you get? And, it must have been hard.
170, 178, I think was the number. Yeah.
And how many slots are there?
We had 126 hours available. So I say that because not all the conferences were 1 hour. So we had
Wow.
It was quite, again, I really love the programming. I think it's really interesting. And a lot of us writers do, but we assembled a pretty varied committee. People at various stages of their careers who are RMFW members. And we all rated the proposals and then we discussed them and tried to balance things based on all of our different needs and desires. So it was really, I think it looks easier from the outside.
Yeah, I'm sure of that.
It really does. But it's really exciting because especially having been involved in RMFW and the author community for a while now, like I know some of these people and I know what a wonderful job they're going to do. There's some knowledge dropped that I want to see. So
do you have a favorite one or some favorites that you're looking forward to, Kate?
Good question.
Honestly, I am really looking forward to Bernadette and Tony Soner teaching us how to set up a con table or an author table. They not only have done that over and over again together, they're going to show us 3 different ways to set up an author table in an hour. So if you have ever set up an author table at a con, carrying everything in, having the right equipment, and standing out is so important. And I'm really looking forward to that one.
Great. In the past, there's been some discussion about making sure there was a good mix. I'm sure you have done this for new writers, middle of the pack sort of writers that have had a few books under their belt or have been at it for a few years, and then the real journeyman. The question is there going to be a mix of that kind of programming? And how did you approach that?
Well, again, the ones I'm interested in are the more professional level, like the table setup ones, but we did for sure try to look for beginner and intermediate as well. Mira, maybe you could pick up at that point. I mean, which ones
Yeah.
are you interested in? Because again, we all come from different points of view. So
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, the only reason I pivoted to Kate is because she was involved in the committee for the workshops. And so I feel like she has a better handle on, what's being offered. But I know from just having gone through the selection for the virtual ones, even with that, we just made sure that there was a lot of beginners. And to be honest, I think most of the proposals were aimed at beginners. And so that is always going to be a larger chunk, because that's a larger chunk of who is showing up to the conference. There's a lot of new people who show up who aren't members. And so those to be the busiest workshops. But we definitely have an even amount of intermediate and even some things that are genre specific that would get a little more in depth. Like we have some really great crime ones this year. One I know that's titled like, He's Dead, Now What? And things about like, what is that CSI doing at the crime scene, and that go into more details on those kinds of things that could apply to a beginner and could apply to an intermediate and could apply to a professional writer. So I think I have something for everybody. And I think most conferences are really good at picking that. And we've been really clear that RMFW has a wide variety of writers and want to make sure that everyone has something.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, all levels of writers can benefit from making their murders realistic.
Yeah.
We got to get that right, no matter where you are in your career.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Is there going to be the equivalent of agent reading the slush pile kind of a deal?
We actually have two different panels. We have a critique group panel where they're going to be doing a live critique, which is not by agents, no, but it will be live feedback.
Right.
And then we have an agent panel as well.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Still putting that together. So our agent, actually, that's a good lead way. I should talk about our agents and how we're doing pitches a little different this year.
Did you just say leadway?
I did. I might have.
That's a good word, leadway.
I put segue and lead.
Yeah, I like that.
I like it. I
know you're a writer when you make up your own word.
Hey, Shakespeare over here, copyright that word.
Yeah. Nobody will ever say the word pivot again. We're just going to say that's a good leadway.
Yeah, lead my way. Okay, I'm going to talk about pitches and agents. Normally we would do a pitch fest where all the agents are in one room or separate rooms, and we rotate, and you get 10 minutes to pitch your book, which I think a lot of people who registered for the conference before have seen that, and you get to like choose your top 3 agents you'd like to pitch to.
Right.
We're still going to do pitches this year. So if you're registering and you don't see that, don't worry, there's still a pitch session. It's just going to be a little different. And this is partially to accommodate the virtual component, and also partially to accommodate similar issue as with keynotes. Some people are just a little bit nervous about traveling, and we are slow to getting agents to commit only because there is a lot of hesitation, and people are like, oh, I kind of want to wait and see, but that's changing. We're definitely getting everything online. We've got a lot of virtual agents already, so that's covered. And if you are live, like in person at the conference, you can still pitch to a virtual agent. We'll have that all set up for you in a room, so you can just show up and do that. But you can also choose from the in-person agents, and we will have a regular pitch session such as that. But as like with other things, we'll just send an email out to people who are registered closer to the date and have them select the agents they'd like to pitch to at that time.
Great.
If I could add on there, we had a virtual pitch fest earlier this year because of the pandemic, and it was incredibly well received.
Yeah.
Both from the agents and our members. So I actually think this model is going to be great, because the at-home people can still participate. But as Mira said, if you're there, you can pitch any of the agents, whether they're in person or not. So yeah, I kind of see that as a benefit to this pandemic thing. Like we found a new way of doing it that might stick around in addition to the in-person thing.
Yep.
Yeah, and I should say also, COVID may have been the reason that we pushed to do the hybrid conference this year. I guess that's the technical term. It's a hybrid conference. Yeah. I think it was going this way anyway. The future was always kind of lending to having an in-person virtual component. So yes, COVID was the reason we're doing it, but I think if it goes well, it's something we may continue doing depending on the kind of audience we get.
Sure.
Absolutely. We have some presenters coming from out of state, have students or writing fellows back home who say they're going to tune in. So we plan on I think we're going to get some participants from further afield than we might have.
Yeah, that's great. What is the cost going to be if you're remote and just dialing in? How's that going to work?
So the early bird price is going to be $190, and then we're late registration that'll start not until September, and that'll be $240.
And what, is that the same cost for virtual? Is that?
Oh, sorry, that's just the virtual.
It's just the virtual. Okay, so what are the prices?
Yeah, so that's member prices. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So the in-person prices, starting early bird, which is on right now, is $350 for RMFW members and $400 for non-members.
Yeah, sounds good.
And yeah, so I mean, with that virtual package, you do get all the live content on Tuesday. You get to pitch the agents. I do think it's a pretty good value for the price.
Yep. Did you just say Tuesday though?
Did I?
You did.
Sorry.
Oh, Saturday, right?
Saturday, October 16th.
I have no idea where Tuesday came
I'm
from.
just
Sorry.
trying to, I'm trying to lead us into leadway us into the next. No, I'm not.
Yes.
Do you have handy a list of the agents that are coming? Is it too long to read, or maybe just
I don't have it handy, but I could pull it up.
Maybe just a sample of the kinds of agencies that are sending agents or something.
Yeah,
like
I'll
that?
list some of the agencies we have
Yeah,
coming. So right now for in-person, I'll just read them off. I don't have who's virtual and who's in.
Yeah.
We'll have access to AKA Literary, Telconotch, Serial Box Realm, Tory House Press, Transatlantic Agency, Inkwell Management, Knight Agency, Handspun Literary, and Dana Newman.
Some nice names in there. That's great. Fantastic.
They represent quite a wide variety of genres so far.
Yeah. What about some of the other highlights of the weekend, at least for me, is the Colorado Gold Literary Writing Contest. When is that going to be held in terms of announcing winners and all that good stuff?
So those will be announced at the winners will be announced Saturday night banquet.
Okay. As usual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, as usual. And I should also let people know, at this moment, we're not allowing or we're not offering positions for people to invite guests, which is something that was done in previous years. If later on in the year, the hotel is able to open up our capacity for the dining room, then we will go ahead and do that. But at the moment, we're really restricted by what the hotel is allowed to offer in the ballroom.
Oh, that's interesting. That's really interesting. So right now, this is just you're attending the conference, no friends and spouses at the banquet or anything like that.
Yeah, we're hoping to change it. And especially for, if we do get a little bit of leeway, we may add that to the people who are going to be winning awards for those reasons. But at this point, we unfortunately have to not include guests just because we really need to be able to offer as much attendee space as possible.
Yeah, there's still social distancing regulations. So right now we can fit X number of people. We're hoping it's going to be bigger. But yeah, for now, we just have to prioritize participants over guests.
I have a hunch it's going to change.
We do too.
We do too,
but still making decisions on what's legal at the moment, though.
Hope the best, plan for the worst.
Yeah. What about a bookstore? Is that happening?
Yeah. Oh, that's a very exciting. I'm glad you brought that up. So our new bookstore partner this year is Tattered Cover. So they're going to be they're going to be joining us. I don't know if you know, but Tattered Cover is under new ownership as of 2020. And they have been so excited about collaborating with RMFW in general. So obviously we reached out to them and to have them come and do the bookstore. So that's that and in order. And in keeping with the welcome home theme, we're going to be making it a little bit more of a cozy space. So we're hoping to have some couches in there, and we'll definitely have a coffee station and maybe a cash bar. So the bookstore will be your Tattered Cover living room, as I like to call it.
Yeah. For those who don't know, and maybe chiming in, but the Tattered Cover in Denver, obviously very well known, but that's one of its features, a very warm atmosphere, lots of sitting places and great coffee shops and all that. So that's very cool.
So we'll keep that in theme.
Yeah, it's very exciting. It's going to be ballrooms actually. So we have a lot more space to play with. And then for the author signing night, the bookstore will actually expand into a second ballroom. So all of the author signing will be in the same place as the bookstore. And again, with a coffee station and an open bar. So this is going to be a really friendly place to hang out, especially on Friday and Saturday night.
And the author signing night, is that Friday then?
Correct.
Okay. Wow. That's fantastic. What a great deal. Yeah.
Yeah, lots of exciting stuff. I think,
Yeah.
the only other thing that I want to kind of mention real quickly, as it was two popular items that you also won't see on the registration form, and that's just roundtables and critiques.
Yeah.
Again, we are hoping to offer this, and we'll send out an email a little later in the year once we see where registration's at, and try and get that organized. So at the moment, it's not on offer, but if we can do it this year, we will, and if we can't, we'll definitely throw it in again next year.
Yeah.
I do remember getting together in February and thinking like, well, how are we going to have people sit around a table, like in masks, 6 feet apart? We'd have like one table per room. So, like in February, it seems so crazy. So yeah, like Mira said, we're playing it by ear, and hopefully we can. So
Yeah.
if anything is different this year, hey, members, bear with us. But I still think it's going to be a pretty great conference.
I
Yeah.
agree.
So we're talking on June 3rd, and I think registration just opened in the last 48 hours or so.
Yes, 2 days ago.
How did you look at any numbers yet?
Yeah, so far it's taking off. I'm pretty excited about what I'm seeing. Yeah.
Care to share?
Oh, I haven't pulled it up today, but I
Yeah.
definitely do that if you'd like.
Sure.
I gotta say, I liked the meal options this year.
Oh,
I'm
good.
kind of excited about. I think with my stomach, what can I say?
Yeah. Well, I want to put the pressure on those who might be on the fence. So I want them to hear that there's already a big number signed up and they need to jump on the ball.
And the pressure is also because it's limited sign up. Like we're only able to offer 300 spaces.
That's
at the
small.
moment. Yeah. Once we take into consideration like the agents and the presenters, 300 is sort of where we have to cap it for in person at the moment.
And that
Wow.
does make the virtual element just all that more valuable, because if we can't expand and we sell out, well, you'll still be able to attend,
Right.
just in a different capacity.
Right. And you don't have to drive and no hotel room
Yeah.
and, all that. So to
And
drive or fly.
it'll be recorded as well. So anybody virtual or in person will be able to access
After the conference.
those workshops after the conference.
That's great.
Yeah. So we're at 43 at the moment.
Okay. Yeah. Well, in 2 days, that's not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you feel like between now and October, that you have a ton of work to do still, or how are you feeling about the next few months?
Yes, there is still so much more to organize, but there's also a bit of relief because what we've done so far means there's a conference. Like whatever happens, people are going to show up. There are going to be workshops and people presenting them, and there's going to be food and it's going to be taken care of. So like the basics are done, and that feels really good. And I think the crunch part of planning a conference. So now it's just kind of putting together the rest of the details, icing the cake and adding the cherry and making sure that everyone's going to have not just a great conference, but like an excellent conference. And while there are going to be changes and, some people don't like the changes and some people like the changes, we're really hoping regardless, people are going to see something they can appreciate about this.
That's great.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Katie, you feeling okay going into the next few months, the home stretch?
Yeah. Like Mira, I am feeling a little bit relieved. It feels like the pressure's off because we did get it rolling again in February. It looks so much different, but now that it's set, it also feels like the team's bigger because we have all our presenters who also are amazing volunteers and moderators and panelists and do everything else around the conference. So we went from a team of pretty small to it just got bigger. So we do still have a lot of legwork to do, but the pressure is off because it's happening. It's happening.
Do you feel like already we know in 2022 will it go back to September? Or do you think you'll stick with October or is that a wait and see decision?
That's definitely a wait and see decision. But on that note, I am starting to discussions with people to help me put together a proposal for other hotels and just like build that and figure out what dates we're going to look at. So we're starting anew with what's coming up for the next 5 years for our MFW conferences. And there's a lot of excitement about what that could look like. So I'll keep that stuff a secret at the moment though, because it's kind of, we'll make big announcements later.
Just keep it. You can just tell us. You can just tell us.
just
For people who don't know, Colorado Gold, it was named after the changing aspen leaves. So it does take place in the fall, but hey, there's a little wiggle room there. So we'll see. We'll see.
All right.
One other change that's pretty big that's happening this year that they were going to introduce last year, but I definitely think some listeners would be eager to hear this, is we're offering sort of a sponsorship, exhibitor area. So if anybody, whether you can attend the conference or not, if you have something that you can offer writers and you want to market that or just get in front of, 300 plus people in the industry, we have what we call vendor tables. So you can have a vendor table in an area and set up your shop and talk to people about what you're selling or what you offer as a service. We also have just regular sponsorships, and you can look for an email that's going to be coming out that's going to talk more about what sponsorships offer. And then for authors who are looking to advertise outside of just having their books in the store, we're offering author banners, or you can bring your author banner to the conference, and we have a setup so they'll be spread out all across the conference and rotated. So there's a charge for that, and that information will also be in a newsletter coming up. So keep an eye on your newsletters.
Wow.
And if you just want to help out the conference with a little bit of extra funding, we also are going to have a pretty fancy brochure program put together this year, and there'll be some ad space in there as well.
Fantastic.
Yeah, being in the program is a nice way to support us, especially if you have a freelance business that you offer to other writers or something of that nature. I'm really excited about this part too, having vendors on scene. So it's going to be nice.
So the vendors could be editors, could be book designers, could be book coaches, could be
You got it.
career coaches.
I am actually hoping that there'll also be some, book crafts or pop culture stuff too, a little bit of the conning, but we'll see.
Yeah. Terrific. Wow. Well, guys, this has been a great rundown. I really, really appreciate it. Before we leave, I just want to, give you a chance to take us up to speed, bring us up to speed on your writing and how things are going. I got to take the opportunity to check in and see how things are. Maybe start with Mira.
Yeah, well, what I'm calling my COVID novel, because I started it last March and finished it in January. I'm currently querying, so that's really exciting. And
give us the premise, give us the title. Maybe there's an agent listening.
Oh, yes. Okay. Well, the working title obviously is Alice Out of Wonder, and it is a non-fantasy retelling of Alice in Wonderland for adults.
Come on.
That's fascinating. I love that elevator pitch.
Yeah. Is it contemporary and now?
It is. Yeah, it's contemporary women's fiction. So my Alice is a nearly 30-year-old virgin on homeless and broke with very ultra conservative parents. And she goes out for a weekend and just interacts with a whole bunch of real life, but super absurd people who give her little tidbits on how to get out of her creative funk and find her artistic stride. I'll put it that way.
Oh, come on. That's a great pitch. I love it.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, watch out, agents.
Yeah, that's gonna. Yeah. I'm in.
Awesome. Thank you for the encouragement.
Yeah. Kate, what's up?
With my personal writing, I'm working on a dystopia that I've been working on for several years, but it kind of has been hard to write on a world that's gone to hell when the world has gone to hell. So it's been going a little slowly. But I also do some freelance writing, and I'm looking forward to the conference because I'm going to be teaching a few things myself. I'm going to be teaching anthologies for fun and profit, which I do have another anthology coming out this year with my writers group. It's our third anthology of the series. So we're going to be teaching you about how and why to publish your own anthology and all the reasons to do so. I'll also be doing meditation and inspiration for writers, and teaching a little bit of yoga for writers.
There you go.
I believe on Sunday morning, I'll teach some yoga. So that is my other part-time job that I'm finally getting back to with the pandemic. So
I'll be in her yoga class, so nobody is allowed to contact us during that time.
We'll both just be gone.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love a good hangover yoga session?
Right?
Yeah.
Very gentle. I call it shoe. I mean, you can do it in your con clothes or your conference clothes. No big deal.
Well, Mira Landry, Kate Jonuska, thank you so much again for leading up the charge, heading up the conference, and we are eager to see it all come together. So thanks for jumping on the podcast, and good luck with everything.
I can't wait to see you there. You're going to be there too, right, Mark?
I believe so.
All right.
Thanks so much, Mark. This is great.
Thanks.